Say hello to me, tell me where you're watching from. Welcome to this creative pilgrimage. Today is Share Your Art Friday. Now, I'm not usually available on a Friday because, it's salon day, but it is school holiday and it is a little bit quieter in the salon. So here I am on a beautiful Friday morning, opening my studio to you, and I can't wait to share with you what is happening on our creative pilgrimage and where we are headed next. But before we get into that, I'm still working on my beautiful diptych with two panels. This is the first panel. So I'm sort of working on them simultaneously. And, I want to talk a little bit about the process because some of you might be thinking, why is this taking so long? You could have painted these paintings already and hung them. It's weeks later. But you know what? I really enjoy the process and I enjoy the journey. And for me, it's an opportunity to have a conversation with you. And that's what you guys come and paint with me. So maybe you are painting in your studio. Tell me what you're working on. So join the conversation because I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the giraffe that we've been walking with this week. So I'll get into that just now. Just wanted to sort of set up the story arc here for you guys so that you know sort of where I'm headed both with my canvas and with our storyline. Awesome. So I've got that going. So I wanted to just play with a little bit of highlights here and there. Like I said, I'm very happy with the composition, with the layout, with the development of this. The frog needs to be brightened up a little bit more. It's too much contrast down here, so I'll add a little bit of color for him. But I just want to begin to bring in just a few highlights on the leaves as we continue to just visit with each other in our studios, right? So I've got here on my palette, let me show you, phthalo green, turquoise and Naples yellow. And I've just mixed a lighter sort of green version, roughly with the same sort of colors that I used to paint these leaves. And I just want to bring in a few moments that's just going to talk a little bit about light reflections. Not everywhere, but if you have shadow, you must also have a little bit of light. So that's sort of what I wanted to mention on my petals here. So as I sort of go in closer, I add a little bit more detail. I switch to a smaller brush because now we are beginning to add details and I don't want to repaint every, lily leaf. I do just want to make smaller marks now that's gonna just add to the composition and just tell the story a little bit more here. I'm quite happy with how the water lilies turned out. That's quite pretty. Usually takes me a minute or two just to get into the vibe here. And I also normally play music, which really makes a big difference to get into the mood. But unfortunately for a live, we can't do that. Maybe you'll be lucky to watch the replay because I do like to re-edit these and use it again because not everybody gets the opportunity now to tune in and be here with me. So my light source is from the top of the canvas. We are literally viewing like a beautiful water lily pond and there is some kind of it's either early morning or maybe a late afternoon sunset, and the sunlight is actually cast on buildings or some kind of architecture behind this pond, and that light is what you see cast onto the surface of the water here. And I just love the whole sort of vibe that you can't see the horizon per se, so it really brings the viewer into this moment. It's sort of my own kind of Monet vibe going on here. Now, as you might know, I'm a self-taught artist. Whatever I do on this canvas, I taught myself. So I'm not a formally trained artist, but that is irrelevant because I'm not creating art, to be a professional artist. I'm not creating art to make money from it. Albeit paintings do sell and people do love my art, but I think that's the difference for me between a professional artist and an amateur. A professional artist sees this as a vocation. It is a job that they get paid for, and they can do it brilliantly and consistently and on demand. That's what professional means, really. So amateur, I think, in the Western world has sort of become a little bit of a downward, like an insult. Oh, you're just an amateur. But really, when you look at what amateur means, it means that you are no longer a novice. You're no longer just an expert. You're an amateur. It is a step between an expert and a professional. So really, they are giving you a compliment if they call you an amateur, because that is really the level where the word is used between a novice, an experted person, and a professional. It's that third tier there. So I don't really care so much about people's definition of my art or my skill level, because for me, if you've maybe seen one of my other videos, I talked about how art saved my life. And for me, art is making art is a personal value. Creativity is a personal value, and that is really what this for me is all about as a creativity coach. I like to just remind people that giving yourself permission to express yourself and to give yourself the freedom to just be creative without editing yourself too much and trying to please other people, I think that is the ultimate sort of realization for me that I want to share with everyone, really. Why wait for the perfect moment when you know enough, or when you understand your medium enough, or you've done enough courses with other people, you've watched enough tutorials, but you never actually get over to doing, then, I really want to encourage you to maybe start today. And one of the ways that I do that is with these beautiful portal journey moments of mine. You might notice this fantastic moment here. Let me just maybe take it off and bring it closer, because this is 300 GSM watercolor paper, and I'm currently developing my own Animal Guide Oracle deck, and this is this week's Oracle deck, but printed on watercolor paper with a black and white line drawing. Isn't that fabulous? I think this is so beautiful. So this offers an opportunity for my patrons to literally download and print the art that I offer on my Patreon on watercolor paper, on ordinary paper. I even have ordinary paper here. Where can I put you down now? Standing here next to my shelf. And I just want to brag a little bit here. This is one of the other videos I did this morning. So this is what one of the field journal pages look like that you can download on my Patreon. And for each day of the week, I have the artwork of the day, and I have the prompts for the day, and just give you space to reflect and journal with me. So this portal journey that is virtual and on all of my socials is something that you can follow along every day and just see what beautiful insight and wisdom that animal guide for the week can bring us. Clarity on our path, the path of our life, right? And just like the canvas is a metaphor for me, for my life, the layering process, the aha moments that I have here, the frustration moments that I have here, the self-criticism that comes up in my mind because of old trauma, that is all an opportunity for me to become aware of it and to begin to choose a different narrative, a different storyline, which is more in alignment with where I'm actually going on my personal pilgrimage through life, right? Isn't that just so stoic? So let's go. Then you have student moments like that. I just bumped my water can over. Crisis! This is what an open studio is all about. It's about being real. It's not about being edited or perfect. If you were seeking perfection and a perfect art teacher, this is not the channel for you. But if you're looking for realness, authenticity, and maybe a different perspective, I welcome you here. Okay, nothing that a bit of a kitchen towel can't fix. Luckily, it wasn't too big a bucket of water, but it is a little bit slippery here now. There we go. The last thing I need today is to fall while I'm on camera. Alrighty then. Getting back into this, let me just find my brush. Oh my word, Gideon. Oh well, I'll pick another one. These moments happen. Like I just mentioned, sometimes these moments happen for a reason. And it helps us to just reflect and observe. Are we present, and are we actually here, or are we in our mind busy dealing with other people or problems in our life? So art really helps me to become present. I like that little bit of yellow there now. So I've been challenging myself in my art to just loosen up a little bit and not to try to describe every detail, but rather to try and capture a mood or a moment. Maybe a feeling. So one of my friends has just returned from Bali, and maybe you know that's just one of my favorite destinations. That's where I had my honeymoon, and there was these beautiful water temples and just palaces dedicated to water, and the most incredible lotuses and water lilies, and ponds that were created to enjoy the beauty of these plants. And I've got so many photographs of these spaces, and I've always wanted to paint beautiful watercolor scenery, not just watercolor, water lily scenery, specifically these landscapes. And one of the artists that's always inspired me was Monet. And these beautiful water lilies, I mean, that's just a master level, right? But one can dream and one can be inspired. And back in the day, before I actually picked up the brush, I would look at Monet's paintings and just admire his impressionistic style and the way that he could just speak with color and very little, detail per se. It's very much making marks, and he was a master in color and giving everything that diffused kind of feeling. Loved that. And your brain would complete the picture. You would actually recognize it before you even really step closer to see exactly how he did it. And when you look close up, that's when you realize how much diffused lines there are. There's not a lot of hard lines in his artwork, and I just love that. So I've been working hard at just developing that style in myself to give expression to that feeling. And one way to do that is to constantly move around, not to stand still too much and try to describe every single little blade of grass or vein on these lily pads. And I also don't want to step in front of the camera. Just got a very small filbert here. I think it's a number 4, just in case you want to know the brush size. And I like to paint with Lucas Krull acrylics. I don't get paid or anything. People just want to know what I use. And that's what I sort of found works for me, that's affordable on a professional level in South Africa. And I enjoy the pigment. Oh, I need a different yellow here, something warmer for this frog. So I'm going to switch to an Indian yellow. Let's see what that does. Yes, a little bit more frog green. Let's try down here. Let's see what we can do to improve this little froggy. There we go. That just feels a little bit more frog-like without saying too much. Right? There's always time to discuss and try something new. So while that is drying, I'm going to switch to my second panel, because that's another thing with acrylics. If you want to paint loose or let me rather say, if you want to keep the vibrancy of your color, then it's a good idea every now and again just to stop what you're doing, let that layer dry before you want to add the next layer, especially if you want to start shifting in values, because sometimes it can get a little bit messy if you keep painting and keep painting. You start losing that contrast a little bit, and then you don't have that beautiful pops of color that you can achieve by waiting first, let the layer dry, and then come back with a coat of fresh paint here and there. So that's basically what I'm doing. So this is the second panel, and now I'm just going to continue adding some highlights on this as well, because they're going to hang next to each other in my bedroom. So these panels talk to each other and give us a bigger perspective. Okay, now I need a bit of blue here. Let's see if I can open this tube of color. The only thing I don't like about these metal tubes is it's a bit of a struggle to open, because they can sort of tighten and you sort of start to twist your tube like this. So I prefer to buy the plastic ones because their caps is a little bit easier to deal with. So this is just a bit of phthalo blue, very potent, so you'll need very, very little. But I do want to just cool my highlight down a little bit by adding a bit of blue to it. Because these lily pads is a little bit more in shadow. And this also provides an opportunity for me to maybe fix some shadows that's too heavy. So I really enjoyed this week's portal journey with a giraffe, and it's still unfolding. I think today is day 5, and day 5 just gives us such a beautiful insight about talking about embodying wisdom. And what the giraffe moment is telling us, and it's literally the moment at the waterhole. Let me see if I've got that field journal page. Yes, that's actually the one that I colored in this morning. So it's this moment at the waterhole, and the giraffe has to make itself very vulnerable. It's a very tall animal. So for it to drink, it needs to almost split its front legs apart and then lower its neck and drink. And in that moment, it's very vulnerable to attack. So if we look at that metaphorically and we sort of draw some information from that, for me, this whole week was about a higher perspective. Because the giraffe is living amongst the treetops, right? So it's seeing life from a completely different perspective than, animals on the ground, including us. So this whole week was an encouragement to look in places, have a higher perspective on your life, so to speak, because I think sometimes we play too small, we minimize ourselves, we hide, and we wait for the perfect opportunity, which never arrives, right? So the giraffe is saying, start elevating yourself and start viewing life from a higher perspective. And this whole week was about that. until this final lesson for today. And in this moment, the giraffe is saying, humble yourself. We must always remember that head knowledge can very easily come across as arrogance and pride and a lofty idea about yourself. Very much like we can sometimes create with our social media an impression that, we've got everything together, we know exactly what life is about, and we've got all the answers, right? No, that's not how life works. Nobody has all the answers, and most of us are just faking it until we're making it, right? So that is the reality of being human. And the wisdom for me in today's lesson is this, that it is good to grow yourself, to develop your insight and perspective, and to work towards your goals. But humility helps for this head knowledge that we gain either about ourselves or a subject or a theory or a belief or a way of doing things. And to just anchor it in your heart space, because in your heart space it becomes wisdom, embodied knowledge, embodied wisdom is where we start to use this information for, not just ourselves in a selfish way, but like in a sharing way, in giving this back to our community so that everyone in an Ubuntu kind of way can benefit from the medicine, from the insight, from the perspective. Isn't that beautiful? In that way, we take hands and we say, walk with me. You are not alone. None of us know where we are going. We are just figuring it out as we go. We are following our heart. We are following our own true north. And we are using the stars to navigate. And we are listening within for that subtle guidance, that subtle synchronicities that the environment is providing us with every day if we but pay attention and listen. And that's ultimately my role as a pilgrim guide and as a journey guide. What does that even mean? It doesn't mean that I've got the answers. It just means I extend a hand of companionship, of friendship, and through my own life lessons, I've gained some wisdom that I have integrated into my living, into my belief systems, and into my values. And I just stand here as an example, not with the answers to tell you what you should do, but to say, walk with me. You don't have to do this alone. You can figure things out while in companionship of other people that's honest, supportive, caring, and maybe provides another perspective on your life journey that you might not have or that you might have missed before. So that's really what this whole offering is about. And I welcome you along for the journey. It's just what this needed, a little bit of pop of color that's a little bit lighter. Maybe a little bit more yellow here. Oops. When things got up there in the distance, I don't want to give it too much detail because it's just showing the viewer that there's more happening, that this scene is continuing up there. So if you're looking for a nice supportive community, I also want to just use this opportunity to invite you to my Facebook page, The Creative Heart Pilgrimage. It's a public space, but it is a creative space where fellow pilgrims have joined me, and that's also on their path of creative exploration and figuring their life out in a creative way. So join us at the campfire there. I call it our campfire discussion space. That's really a place where you can begin to share your art, to create and meet a community of people that will support you and will be there for you to help you on this journey. Even if it's just to say, I see you. Going a little bit more into the blues here again. I love these quiet moments because that's sort of when I gauge when I'm stepping into my right brain and out of my analytical thinking left brain, really. Our left brain really serves our ego personality, and it's working very hard every day to interface and interact with life around us in a very fairly logic kind of way, hopefully. But what we have sort of lost in our interpretation is our right brain can sometimes be sort of written down as not essential, and our development in school is reflecting that by offering less art development and things like that. You have art up until a point, and then you must choose it as a subject, which is great, but not everybody does, because our world pushes technology, science, and math and languages far more than creative development, and that's fine. But here's the thing, we need both our left and our right brain to succeed in life. Your left brain will give you the facts and the linear sort of plan on how to get from A to B with all of the narration that happens in our brain. But your right brain offers you a connection with your senses, and not just your physical senses, but your higher senses as well. And these are, the things that we sort of unlearn to utilize every day. Things like your intuition, that gut feeling, this knowing that you sometimes can get without understanding, where did I just get this information from? Almost like a download. And that information is accurate and exactly what you needed in that moment, but it didn't come from a book. It didn't come from, just knowledge that you drew out of the internet research, things like that. It's an inward download of information and knowing. And I think sometimes we can just write those moments off as, our imagination, a fleeting moment of, fancy. And we don't always trust that inner guidance because we have learned not to trust ourselves. And that is really sad in a way, because we value outside opinion and information far more than our own, especially in our current world. And I'm here as a guide to remind you to switch that around. Begin to trust your own inner voice and knowing and gut feeling and guidance and intuition more than outside opinion. I'm not talking about facts or anything like that. I'm talking about opinion, because everyone just has their own opinion, right? And we can be so easily swayed by other people's opinion because It looks to us like they know what they're talking about. It looks to us like they've arrived. It looks to us like they have everything figured out. So let me try it their way. And in a way, I can turn that around and say the same for me. I'm not saying doing it my way. I'm saying do it your own way, but let's do it together. Can you see the difference? There is a community that I'm trying to form versus an opinion that I want you to follow. I'm not instructing you. I'm not showing you how you should do it. I'm showing you how I'm doing it. And through that, hopefully give you the courage and the confidence to maybe try it your way and see what happens. There's a big difference in that. I think I cleared up my water spill here. So let me move that towel. It's starting to feel very nice to me. I'm hoping to get this painting done today, and maybe I'll hang it in my bedroom. I'll share it with you guys so you can see what it looks like on the wall together. And then I'll look at it for a few days and decide, is there anything that I feel needs to tweak? And then it might turn into another life to tweak it, but we'll see. I must admit, it is easier to paint in silence and with no interruption. I had to teach myself to paint live on camera in a way by just doing it more. And it's quite intimidating to show up on a live broadcast and pretend to know what you're doing. Well, I'm not pretending. I'm just doing my own thing here. I like to just bounce around sometimes on my canvas as well. For me, that sort of harmonizes the color. Because if I use a color somewhere, I like to use it somewhere else in order to just harmonize the canvas. I did want to brighten up this other heads of, what do you call them, lilies. Just a little bit. Without saying too much. I think that's really nice. I wanted to share with you guys, while I have the opportunity, I use this awesome deck of Colette Baron Reid, the Spirit Animal Oracle. I like to do my oracle readings with this while I'm developing my own deck. And this is her giraffe card. It is number 29. Isn't that pretty? So the giraffe spirit is saying, see the big picture. And I wanted to just share this with you guys. I haven't read it myself, and seeing that this is our Giraffe Portal Week, I thought I would lean into what Colette is sharing with us, and it's card number 29. So we'll look at that numerology just now because it's always interesting. So the giraffe stretch upward to reach the treetops and look down from a high vantage point. When giraffe spirit appears, it is a sign to observe from a higher view. In all aspects of your life, it is time to stretch your neck out and broaden your view. Open your eyes to what others need or are experiencing and see the big picture you fit into. No matter how great your wisdom, knowledge, or experience, you don't want to overlook details and connections that will help you better understand yourself and your circumstances, to stretch yourself. So again, we're talking about community here, right? Look beyond what catches your attention at eye level and know that not everything is as obvious as you might like it to be. Spirit will bestow upon you a new perspective that might make all the difference, and I can vouch for that this week. So maybe you are in a skeptical point of view about this and you are resisting the message or the interaction, the encounter that you are having with the portal journey, and you just think, oh, it's just another wildlife picture, and scroll on. So you're missing the opportunity for a message of encouragement and of self-reflection. And there is a protection message for you as well. Are you sticking your neck out too far, reaching too high instead of looking around you to see conditions on the ground? Your devotion to co-creating something new is admirable, but your raw spirit is showing up to remind you that you have to look at the whole picture, not just those tasty leaves at the top of the tree. Perspective is necessary now, and that means checking in with what is going on around you at your feet. Or perhaps you are ruminating over the worries of the world instead of paying attention to what you can do right now, where you are to bring out about changes that you would like to see. Align with your highest good and know that while perspective is important, transformation begins where you are. Do not get so far up in the clouds thinking about all the big problems that you have to solve, so that you lose perspective and forget to do your part, however small it may be, to start enacting change, for transformation begins with you and with me. That is what's so beautiful about this portal journey. We have these two positions. Most of us spend our time down here, not looking up. And my encouragement for you this week was to have a higher perspective. And at the end of it, we did mention this beautiful lesson when the giraffe goes to drink water and how it has to literally, bend down to the ground, almost do the splits in order to drink water, becoming very vulnerable. And for me, that lesson was all about humility. And the second part of her reading text was about that. I think in our current political world situation, it is very easy to spend so much time on social media, on news, and really consume far more negativity than we should. And then we adapt that perspective and we begin to embody that. And that is the embodiment of fear, of worry, of seeing lack, of seeing a system collapsing, of seeing the two-facedness of people and of leaders that we've elected into positions of power that have no authenticity and not enough character to really deserve to be in that position. So by consuming that the whole time, you begin to embody a worldview of catastrophe, of, limited perspective, limited opportunity, limited everything feels limited. And when you start to lift your eyes from that perspective and you start going within, especially in a community that supports that same perspective, you begin to see opportunity, you begin to see gaps where you are in the perfect position and place and environment to just step into an authentic self and begin to navigate your path through your own values and begin to elevate those around you that is seeing only problems in the world. So a lot of people say, yeah, I'm so small, I can't really affect change in the world. I can't change what is happening. I can't stop bombs from falling. I can't stop fuel prices from rising. I can't stop world hunger. I can't stop people destroying the environment. And you're right, we do have absolute zero control over other people and what the world around is doing. But here's the thing, you can influence it. You do have the power. All of us have power, but we give our power away on a daily basis by plugging into the problem rather than the solution. And I want to encourage you today with the Giraffe Portal Journey and our creative practice is to adapt a different perspective. I want to remind you that you are powerful and you do have the power to influence those around you, not just through your opinion, but through embodied wisdom, by the way you show up, by the way that you deal with your challenges around you, by checking in on your own attitude, because that's the only thing you do have power over is yourself, your own attitude, your own energy, your own perspective, your own angle, and your own boundaries, what you allow into your life and what you consume every day, not just, food wise, but social media wise, news wise, any media wise. What is it that you are giving your attention to? Because where your attention goes, there your energy flows. So by adding to the world's problems and doom scrolling, what you are doing is you're adding your energy to the problem part of our world. I'm not saying be ignorant. I'm not saying put your head in the sand. Sorry, I'm not saying ignore the problems, but I do think it's wise to choose where you spend your energy, because by spending all your time and energy on doom scrolling, you're definitely not helping. You are contributing. You are adding your energy to the problem. Be aware, yes, but then choose to spend your energy and focus on number one, yourself, and aligning your energy, your frequency, your direction of your life, and your attitude on how you're going to get there, and spend it more on creating rather than on consuming and having an opinion and leaving it like that, you know. So that's just my 2 cents about the Giraffe Portal Journey. I do think that these beautiful canvases has come to a lovely place. It might need a little bit of a tweak here and there, but I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I had to just open the doors and the windows of my studio and just spend a few minutes with you so that you can get to know your portal guide. And if you are interested in what I'm sharing, there are some lovely links for you to enjoy beneath the description of this video. Check out the YouTube channel, subscribe so that you don't miss out on these wonderful opportunities. And I hope to see you over on Patreon soon so that we continue our journey together. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to say hello, tell me where you're watching from, And if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comment box below. I'm eager to read them and to respond. I want to thank you all for spending a bit of time with me. So stay true to yourself, be kind to one another, and keep on walking. Hampa Bye bye, everyone.